How do you convince someone to listen to you, to buy something from you, to offer you a job? To most people, including myself, getting better at even one of these things would be a win. A win not only for my career, but a win for my personal life. In Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, we're given time-tested and academic research-proven principles to help us convince anyone to do anything. Specifically, there are 6 methods and strategies that he outlines that can really change the game. This book is Charlie Munger's #1 business book of all time, and Warren Buffett, if you've ever heard of him, it's his #3 favorite business book. So in this video, I'll take you through the most critical points, the headlines, so you can start using these principles as soon as possible. Also importantly, I'm going to guide you through the principles Dr. Cialdini says you should use to help defend yourself against these certain tactics that people will use to try and influence you. This book has a lot of power. If you guys don't know me, my name is Zach, and I'm a third-year medical student living here in Philadelphia. So I don't normally do these kind of videos. I don't normally do these videos kind of reviewing books, but I'm not reviewing the book. I'm gonna relay like the principles that I learned from this book that I think can really help anyone trying to do anything. So let's get into the first principle. The first principle is reciprocation. The reciprocity rule is that whenever we are given something for free, we feel indebted to give something back at least that same value. Interestingly, we often give something back at a higher value than what was given to us. A straightforward example is a group of religious devotees, Krishna devotees, that use this rule to raise funds. Initially, the group had a failing strategy of simply asking for donations at like an airport or at a gas station or something like that, but they smartly changed their strategy to use this reciprocity rule immediately. And what they did is they would actually give someone a gift, like a book, or the most famous example is a flower.
Hello, we'd like you to have this flower from the Religious Consciousness Church. Would you care to make a donation?
And the flower was pinned on you while you were at the airport without you being able to say kind of anything, and then they go into, listen, I'm from blah blah blah, will you give us money for blah blah blah? Importantly, the fundraisers were told that they were never allowed to take back a gift no matter what. And then, and only then, after they've given the gift and the person has the gift, do they ask for a donation. And with this expert manipulation of the human psyche, many people folded. In the book it says, this produced large-scale economic gains and funding for the ownership of temples, businesses, houses, and property in 321 centers in the US and overseas. That's crazy. A sneakier way to do this is using the rejection then retreat model. What is this? Well, this is when you initially make a huge, almost crazy request, only to later come back to a smaller request, but that's what you actually wanted in the first place. So imagine initially you ask me for something huge, something crazy, and I, being of course a rational person, say, no, I'm not gonna give you this hugely crazy thing. However, the next thing you ask me for is kind of a much smaller or less significant thing than what you initially asked me for. And what I do is I view this smaller request as actually you being nice to me. And so I am much more likely to accept this new, smaller request, even though you've purposely framed it so the first request is ridiculously huge and the next request is what you actually wanted, but smaller. A fantastic example of this is the Watergate scandal. If you don't know about the Watergate scandal, I would Google it briefly. I think most people know about it. And the mastermind behind this Watergate scandal was a guy named G. Gordon Liddy. And this guy somehow convinced the Nixon administration to spend $250,000 on an operation with 10 men to burglarize and plant bugs in a political opponent's office. How could President Nixon's administration accept and approve this idea? Doesn't it sound ridiculous? Well, this wasn't the first proposal by G. Gordon Liddy. This was actually the third proposal to the Nixon administration. His initial proposal was a whopping $1 million operation with 25 men, yachts, kidnapping, and a mugging squad. It's like something absolutely ridiculous. Now, I have no way of talking to Mr. G. Gordon Liddy, but I assume he used the rejection then retreat model. He made this initial crazy request because he knew it wouldn't be accepted, but when he came back down to the more normal request, or seemingly normal request, it didn't seem as crazy because they had already rejected this $1 million idea with a yacht and crazy muggings and kidnappings. Importantly, there was one person who wasn't there for the first 2 proposals on Nixon's team, and this guy's name was LaRue. And LaRue was the only person who rejected the final $250,000 plan, but at that point he was overruled. The other people on the committee, the other 2 people, were there for the first 2 crazy proposals. So when this third proposal came through, this $250,000 proposal with 10 men, they accepted it. So how do we use this? How can we take advantage of this kind of reciprocity rule and also the rejection then retreat model? Well, I think there are a couple of things we can do. We give out free things and expect nothing in return until we ask for something in return later and get amazing, amazing returns. The best examples of these are like free trials or ebooks. I'm sure if you've been on any website, you've seen kind of sign up for my free trial or put your email in so you can get this free ebook. And what this does is people kind of feel indebted to you because you've given them something for free. The most successful door-to-door salespeople usually give something free, like a sample of a product or a free product, and then come back later only to ask the person to buy something.
I want that.
Now, if we wanted to use the rejection then retreat model, remember to start with a dramatically large request, then retreat to the actual request you want.
So we still feeling pretty good about this 32-piece set here?
Finally, now that we know how to use it, how do we actually defend ourselves against this method? The best way to do it is kind of understand the reason the person is doing a favor for you. If you know it's a salesperson who gives you a free sample, then know he's giving you a free sample for a reason. And once you've identified this free sample as a trick or a tactic to get you to buy something later, just take the sample and just don't worry about it. The next strategy is commitment and consistency. It is easier to resist at the beginning than the end. The trick of this strategy is to convince someone to commit to something, however small initially. Then the person, whether to appear consistent to themselves or the outside world, goes along with this small commitment because they have made this small commitment. In this experiment, someone was selling cookies over the phone and they trialed out 2 initial questions. The first question was, do you want to buy cookies? And then the next time they would call someone else, they would say, how are you doing? When the person selling the cookies over the phone started with the question, how are you doing? Cookies were sold about 33% of the time. When solicitors started with the question, do you want to buy cookies? Cookies were only sold 18% of the time. Why is this? Well, usually when you're asked, how are you doing? You say, good, right? You know, I'm doing good, I'm doing okay. The sneaky thing here is you're committing to being a good, kind of happy person with just this simple reply over the phone. So when they follow up later with, would you want to buy cookies? Your internal state is going towards being like a good, nice person. Why would you be stingy over the phone and not buy these cookies from this very nice person you're talking to because you just told them you're doing good? So how can we take advantage of the commitment and consistency rule? Get the person to say yes as soon as possible. The more permanent and public the commitment, the better. By permanent, I mean, for example, saying it is not as good as someone literally etching it in stone, writing it, displaying it on their public profile. You want them to be publicly committed as soon as possible. Never threaten, coerce, or bribe. Remember, we want them to be internally committed as well as externally committed. Now, how do we say no? This is a tricky one to fight. Dr. Cialdini argues that the only really way to fight this is imagine you knew what you knew now, but were in the position before you made any commitment. So imagine someone makes you commit to a fitness program, your name is on the fitness program's board, and you've been going to it for a couple weeks, but you're thinking about quitting. Take in the facets of this fitness program. Do you like the fitness program? What is good about it? But don't take in the fact that your name is on the board. It's really hard to do this. But imagine yourself before this point, before even interacting with all these people, except you know the qualities of the fitness class.
I want to quit the gym.
You do realize you won't have access to our new full-service Swedish spa.
Strategy number 3 is use social proof. Why would someone put their own money in a tip jar? Why is there canned laughter? What's the point of testimonials on websites? These things exist because they work. They get people to tip more. They get people to think a show is more funny, and they get people to buy more things. These things are social proof. Social proof is the idea that it is usually the right option if everyone else is doing it. Evolutionarily, this makes sense. Why is everyone running? You know, I think I'm gonna wait around here and see why you're dead. The animal that thinks about why they are running away from something is the animal that dies. The animal that runs away with the rest of the herd is usually going to more likely survive. Now, of course, before I go into this next experiment, remember, correlation does not mean causation, but this is some strong correlation. I don't know if you remember that series from Netflix, 13 Reasons Why. Well, the whole story was about this girl who was talking about herself committing suicide. And the association was so strong between the uptick of teenagers committing suicide and the release of this show that many scientific journals actually cautioned parents to not let their kids watch this show. Now, did this show actually cause more people to commit suicide? Who knows? But it seems there is a strong correlation between when this show was released and the uptick of teenage suicides. Okay, let's get non-morbid for a second. How can we use this idea of social proof to do better? What are you trying to sell? Can you show other people using your product? More importantly, can you show your target audience using your product to your target audience? Do you want your children to start doing something? Well, instead of telling them to do something, evidence shows that if you show them their peers doing it, they are much more likely to do it. Your kid doesn't want to swim? Show him Jimmy, who loves swimming and is a swimming fiend. I'm sure your son will start to swim ASAP. But how can we say no when someone uses this strategy of social proof against us? I find it especially easy to identify when this social proof strategy is being used. Ever seen those car commercials when the non-actor is trying out the car? Newsflash, they are an actor.
Sweet.
Kind of a sleek elegance.
I have no idea even what car this is.
Take a step back and reason with yourself, why is everyone doing this? Is there a reason behind this? Think for yourself. It sounds easy, but it's very, very tough. Just try and take a step back. And usually you can see these maneuverings by people, especially I see it in commercials, fancy big TV commercials, trying to get you to do things.
There's leather everywhere.
This is great. It's a nice leg room.
Oh, I love this roof.
I love cars with panoramic sunroofs.
Heck, that's the reason why a bunch of sponsors come talking to me and I talk about med school stuff, because they see if you're in med school and studying medical school stuff, they want me to talk about it because I'm in med school and I'm being used as social proof for their product. So what would I say to defend yourself against me from trying to sell you something? Well, if you're in medical school thinking about buying a product or getting a product that I kind of support, think about the product without me talking about it. Identify the positives and the negatives and take away my input on these products. The next strategy of influence is liking. People are more likely to say yes to someone they know and like than someone they don't. The halo effect says that we automatically assign various positive traits to someone based on one good known trait. For example, attractive people are more often labeled as talented, kind, intelligent, honest. More attractive defendants are more likely to avoid jail time. In regards to liking, Dr. Cialdini talks about teams as a powerful tool to make someone come on your side. This is why good cop, bad cop actually works sometimes.
Spill it! Where's your brother? You'd better answer him, Lisa. He's a bad man.
The prisoner feels like the good cop is on their side while the bad cop is against them. They formed a team with the good cop.
You started off as the bad cop, but now you're the good one. You and Willie got mixed up about 10 minutes ago.
We did not. Now where's Park? You better tell me.
Oh, you better tell him, lassie. I cannot control him when he gets like this.
So how do we take advantage of this liking strategy? Well, befriend the person or the client as much as you can before asking them for anything. This is not nice to hear, but it's true. Maximize your physical attributes as much as you can. Get a nice haircut, wear neater clothes. These are simple things that can make a big difference. Also, we are more likely to help people that are more similar to us, that are more like us. One way to take advantage of this is to dress like the person you're trying to sell to. Trying to sell books to lawyers or something like that? Dress more like a lawyer. Trying to sell more things to college students? Dress like a college student. Are you trying to win someone over? Just literally be there more. I think I can't remember what TV show this is from, but there's a joke that's like, just be there.
Be there. He gets a drink, be there. He talks to his friends, be there. At the end of the night, be there.
That's creepy, man.
This is why like my branding or what my profile picture, I don't have like a logo or something weird like that. It's just a picture of my face on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, because I want this appearance to be consistently what kind of my audience sees, because the more often they see this consistent appearance, the more likely they are to kind of like me and my channel. Okay, so how do we say no? Separate the person from the product. This is the simplest and most straightforward answer. Separate the person from the product. The car salesman is the most amazing person in the world. He's gonna take you to his barbecue over the weekend. He's gonna fly you to California to go wine tasting. Oh yeah, but the car sucks.
It's not the flyest ride on the lot, but guaranteed you here. It's the safest car on the lot. I had a crash. There we go. Had me safe. Thank you, Larry Parker.
Separate the product from the person. Two more here, let's talk about authority. In one interesting study, a man was introduced as a visitor from Cambridge University to a group of Australian college students. But in each different class, he was given a different title. In the first class, he was a presenter, but he was called a student. In the next class, he was called a demonstrator. In the next class, a lecturer. In the next class, a senior lecturer. And in the final class, a professor. They asked the students of each of these classes to judge the height of the presenter. Yes, the height, how tall the presenter was. Amazingly, the presenter was perceived about a half inch inch taller after every bump in his title. So when he went from lecturer to senior lecturer, he was thought to be a ½ inch taller. When he went from senior lecturer to professor, he was found to be an inch taller, and so on and so forth. That's crazy. Other reasons people might perceive someone to have authority is maybe the way they dress or the way they act. So how can we take advantage of this authority principle? Well, try and display yourself as an authority figure, while of course, importantly, being ethical to not mislead people. I, for example, do not display myself as a doctor or an MD, even though I might be able to convince people and have more authority on subjects, because I don't think really that's ethical. However, for these videos and other things like this, I do mention that I'm in medical school and I'm studying to be a doctor, because I think there is some authority, especially in academics, if you are in medical school. You've been studying for a long time. Use what you have. Finally, dress professionally if you want to appear professionally. What are the people in authority wearing? How can you look like someone in authority in your specific field? How do we say no to this? Well, think about why this person has authority. Are they a physician? Are they a lawyer? Are they judges? Are they legislative leaders? Well, then maybe they have these positions for adequate reasons. I would trust medical advice from my doctor, as long as I knew he was a fully qualified doctor. However, I would not take investment advice from my doctor, and I would also not take investment advice from someone on the internet who says they're the top super dog investor, but when I go to look at their kind of history of transactions or their portfolio or something like that, there's none of that.
Knowledge.
Then the next way to fight this is ask yourself, how can the expert, the professional, gain from my compliance? So if I agree with this authority figure, what are they set to gain? See where the incentive lies, and you can usually figure out why people are doing certain things. And the final strategy is scarcity. The way to love anything is to realize that it might be lost. The idea of scarcity is the idea that humans are more motivated by the thought of losing something than the thought of gaining something. In one experiment, a company that sold beef to supermarkets phoned these supermarkets in one of 3 ways. A standard sales pitch plus information that the supply of beef would likely be scarce in the next month, or the normal sales pitch plus the information that the supply of beef would be scarce in the next month, plus the information that the actual information that these beef would be scarce in the next month wasn't readily available news. Guess which phone call performed the best? So this is sneaky because not only can you say something's scarce and like it's not going to be that easy to get, so you should get it now, but you can also say that this information that this thing is scarce is also scarce information. So it's a double kind of whammy. So how can we take advantage of this? Add a deadline or limited stock. And to increase this demand even more, apply information scarcity. And I couldn't actually see any good ways to fight this scarcity rule. If anyone has any ideas, please comment down below. But that is it. You made it to the end of the video. So I briefly want to summarize these 6 major points from this amazing book, Influence. So the first rule is reciprocity. Provide something for free before asking for anything. Start with a large request. The more significant, the better, before you come back down to a smaller ask that is what you actually wanted. Number 2 is commitment and consistency. In order to persuade, have someone commit as publicly and permanently as possible. Number 3 is social proof. Show other people, whether they actually do or they're actors, supporting and loving and buying your product or whatever you're trying to sell. Who are your audience's peers? Number 4 is liking. Befriend someone first, maximize physical attributes, have a consistent appearance, and appear consistently. Number 5 is authority. Use titles and professional attire. Why should we listen to you? And number 6 is scarcity. Add a deadline, add a limited stock, and add scarcity of information. But that is really it. And your 5 best friends just told me that they've watched like all of Zach Highley's videos and they're all amazing. So you should probably do that too, because they're your best friends and they did it. So, but if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.